Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks, and welcome to a brand new episode of LEGO Awards, the show where we take a look at the best of LEGO years from today all the way back in the past. So essentially for this series, we have been taking a look at the best minifigures from every year of LEGO. We took a look at 2021's figures, then 2020, 2019, 18, all the way down, and now we are ready to take a look at the best non-CMF figures of 2014. The reason why we're distinguishing between collectible minifigures and non-collectible minifigures is that for the most part, the CMFs tend to be kind of the best when it comes to minifigure design and character design, and so I wanted to split it up into two different videos. So for today, we're taking a look at anything that was not a collectible minifigure released in the year of 2014. And oh boy, there is a lot of really interesting picks here. Before we get started, I do want to state that, of course, this is just my personal opinion, and I do want to hear yours, so let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree, or if you feel anything was missing from this list. But without further ado, let's just jump right into number 10. Alright, let's jump right into things with number 10. We have an entrant from LEGO Ultra Agents. This is the villain Inferno, introducing a very specialized flame element for the top of the head there, which looks really great, as well as recoloring one of the collectible minifig series armor elements in red. This is a really fun villain figure to get. I love the design of pretty much every single Ultra Agents villain, and this is easily one of the best. Especially even removing the armor, I think that the torso underneath is incredibly useful. It's a shame that a lot of this printing is completely hidden, but I just love the amount of detail being included here. The flame logo and element kind of looking like a reactor inside his chest is really cool to see, and while the accessories are pretty much just plain dynamites, he absolutely makes up for it with the inclusion of the very special rocket pack on the side. Now, the only reason why this figure is so low is that I personally feel like he was outdone by a lot of other figures on this list, which really goes to show just the level of quality you're about to see from 2014. Moving on to number 9, we have an entry from the Guardians of the Galaxy LEGO Marvel Universe. This is Drax the Destroyer. So this was the first iteration of Drax, and one of the best I feel. As you can see here, he has an intricate printing on the front and back of his torso, as well as printing on the sides of the arms. But my favorite thing about this character is the way that they Lego-fied his tattoos. Instead of including just the standard skulls, which you can see on the actual character himself in the films, the actual figure features LEGO minifigure skeleton skulls tattooed on his body, which is just such a cute design and display for the Drax figure. I really love that they actually made it call back to the original LEGO Skull character figure, which I think is just such a fun display to have in general. The Drax figure certainly is not one of the most interesting in terms of accessories, or even just in terms of stuff going on with him. All in all, he really is literally just the most basic figure you could get in terms of legs, a torso, and a head, but he absolutely makes up for it with the fantastic printing, which I absolutely love for the character, and I really like how they managed to continue it in every future iteration of Drax. Moving onwards, we now turn our eye to number 8. This is Azog from the Hobbit films. Now, Azog was pretty much the main villain across the Hobbit first film, and he introduces a brand new molded component for the metal hand spike thing that he has, which I think looks really cool. Azog also introduces a brand new component for the top of the head, which looks really accurate to the character itself as seen in the movies. I just think that it's a very well done character in general, and an excellent translation of the villain from screen to figure. Now, unfortunately, the back of the torso pretty much is very plain, not a lot of printing or really anything going on the back there, which is a little bit of the detriment to the figure itself, but it absolutely makes up for it by having the fantastic head sculpt. I even like the simple brick-built weapon, just works really well for the character, and that handpiece looks really good. But moving on to number 7, we have a character from the LEGO Legends of Chima line. This is the Phoenix King Fluminox. Now, Fluminox introduces a beautifully molded special pearl gold armor element, which was pretty much exclusive to just him and other members of the Phoenix tribe. He also obviously uses a brand new Phoenix head sculpt, and say what you will about Chima, but the minifigures were absolutely fantastic. And this one absolutely blew me away in terms of the amount of detail being featured on the character itself. I love that the way the very regal orange wings look alongside the back of the character, the dress piece was a great choice to have for the figure itself, and obviously this was long before LEGO introduced the brand new minifigure dress piece, but they did the best they could with the current slow pieces available, and all in all this is just one of the most detailed Chima figures we got out of a series of standouts. The pearl gold printing all alongside the character looks really fantastic, and even the head underneath is great, being featured in the dark red color to give some contrast to the standard plain red headpiece. This is easily one of my favorite Chima figures, which is why he absolutely deserved a spot on this list. But with that, we can now move on to our number 6 pick. And coming in at number 6, we have a look at another original LEGO theme. This is General Cryptor from Ninjago. So General Cryptor here is one of my favorite villain designs. The Ninjroids are some of the coolest antagonists from all of Ninjago's eras, and this is pretty much the best Ninjroid we ever got. General Cryptor features the special painted headpiece that was introduced for most of the Ninjroids on the line. I love how intimidating the 3 dots on the helmet piece looks there, and of course, that armor piece is easily one of my favorite armor pieces we ever got from Ninjago. The asymmetrical design absolutely works in its favor. I love how different sides of the armor actually looks different for the different kind of style of armor piece there. You've got almost a rounded shoulder knight-like armor on the side, and then a more ninja-like side armor piece for one of the other sides. Of course, the torso and legs underneath, honestly to me, isn't really that interesting in particular. I definitely wish it had a little bit more detail and was a little bit less cartoony, but it absolutely makes up for it in the design of the helmet piece as well as the armor, which looks really great, and I love how you can actually introduce these silver katanas on the back of the armor there. All in all, this is one of the standout villain designs from all of Ninjago, and I'm glad that you can still see some of it even today with some of Cyrus Borg's Ninjroid guards. Moving onwards to number 5, we have an entrant from a licensed LEGO theme, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, specifically the Leatherhead villain. So this is just a fun character to have in general. It pretty much is just a pretty exclusive specialized mold for the front of the character with the more crocodile-like design there. He also has special molded arms with the leather straps on the side in dark brown. I do kind of wish they actually made it such that you could open and close the jaw. That would have made the character really deluxe, and honestly, I feel like maybe they could have done it in terms of the design for the character itself, especially given the small jaws they've introduced now in the modern times with Jurassic World, but this is probably the best they could get around the time, and it looks really fantastic. I just love the design of this character. I remember watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated show back in the day, and this is just a really great translation of the character from the screen onto the actual physical design itself. Now this kind of paved the way to even better crocodile big figs, looking at the Killer Croc figure from the Batman movie, but for its time this was just such a fun character and specialized mold to get. It's just really cool when LEGO goes above and beyond when depicting specialized licensed characters. From there, we now move on to number 4. And coming in at number 4, we have an entrant from the LEGO movie. This is Lord Business. So Lord Business was one of the standout characters from the movie itself, featuring special molded leg add-in elements to really make him truly be able to stand and articulate with these stilts there. I really liked they actually made it a very rigid component, really interesting how his legs attach. But all in all, this is just a very fun character from the LEGO movie in general. He has a very elaborate and over-the-top headdress with the coffee cups on top, a new mold, as well as a new mold for the armor piece, which honestly I feel like could have been used in different applications outside of just Lord Business, and it's kind of a shame how it pretty much remained exclusive to the character itself. While the gray suit underneath is nothing special, obviously you couldn't really do anything too interesting with the gray suit of the character, I think that the rest of the figure is just such a fun design, was absolutely the right choice as the villain of the LEGO movie, and it's a design they're still advertising to this day. But now, we can move on to the top 3. And coming in at number 3, we have Dane Ironfoot from the Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies minifigure lineup. Dane Ironfoot is easily one of the coolest figures we ever got out of the Middle-earth series. I love the very detailed ornate helmet piece. The painting of metallic gold and dark red looks absolutely stellar, and that really makes the figure stand out to me. Honestly, everything else is pretty standard. Of course, the printing on the torso in metallic silver and copper is really nice, and the beard piece is a great one to get, especially bringing back from the castle line, but it's just that helmet that really elevates the character to near the top of this list. I love the very ornate helmets we got out of Lord of the Rings, and this is probably the best one that we got from the entire series. I just wish that LEGO would use it in more applications. But with that, we can now move on to our number 2, second best figure of all of 2014. And with this, we kind of cheat a little bit because this is not a figure, instead he is a big figure. And this is Mungus from the LEGO Legends of Chima line. Mungus was a really fun big fig to get, especially because he was one of the only big figs we got out of original LEGO themes. He really does sell the whole mammoth aspect of him, and one thing I really appreciate is that the mammoth headpieces, which were a little bit oversized on the minifigs themselves, looks really great on this actual big fig because it truly feels scaled to the figure itself. He also was the very first big fig to actually have a minifigure head attachment, so while the figure itself was pretty much very restricted to just the Chima lineup, you could, if you wanted to, put other heads on the Mungus figure itself. I like the inclusion of the Chi belt on Mungus, needing 3 Chis to Chi up, which is a really fun inclusion for the character itself, and really does add to the play feature of the figure. And all in all, this is just one of my favorite designs to ever come out of the Legend of Chima line. Just really cool design for a big fig in general. But there is one figure that I do feel deserves its spot on the top of the list. And returning to Guardians of the Galaxy, we have the red suit for Rocket Raccoon. So this was again one of those Toys R Us exclusives in the US. In one of the previous 2015 videos, we took a look at another one of those. Kind of interesting how a lot of the Toys R Us exclusives were some of the most detailed figures ever, but you can see here, this is the red Guardian suit for Rocket Raccoon, featuring excellent printing on the sides of the arms, printing on the sides of the legs, and printing for the toes there, which is really fantastic. It is definitely the best version of Rocket Raccoon we have ever gotten, and I really love that they even managed to print the side of the armor piece for the top raccoon element, which just looks really great in general. He also has the small Groot sapling tree, which is just a very standard build but absolutely works for the character itself, plus the very oversized gun that he does wield very expertly in the film itself. All in all, this is probably the most detailed version of Rocket Raccoon we have ever gotten. I love the amount of detail that has been factored into the figure itself. It just looks absolutely stellar and fantastic seeing a character like this being introduced for the Marvel Superheroes line, and I just love how good this figure is. Alright, and with that, we have taken a look at the top 10 best non-CMF figures of the year of 2014. Let me know down in the comments below, do you agree, do you disagree, and is there anything that you think was missing, or do you own any of these minifigures? Thank you all so much for tuning into Duckbricks, and stay tuned for our next video, where we'll cover the best collectible minifigs of 2014. Thanks all for tuning in, and subscribe to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye-bye for now.